Hi, happy Friday, everyone. This is Akira. Thank you very much for watching this special workshop. We are talking about something really exciting, which is the TSUKEMEN. It's not just going to be like just TSUKEMEN, right? But TSUKEMEN that sells. So TSUKEMEN has been like very fast growing, type of ramen that's especially in Japan, right? So give me like top two, two specialty restaurant, right, ramen shop, right, that specialize in tsukemen, like actually in the top 20, ranking in the Japan, ramen restaurant industry, right? So, and then tsukemen's being like, very popular, so that like, even just regular ramen shop, right, they are, serving tsukemen as part of their menu items. So, but TSUKEMEN for we just wanted to do this workshop for those of you who don't know what TSUKEMENs are, because in certain types, certain areas like the overseas, right? The dipping noodle TSUKEMEN are still kind of minor ramen dishes. So, but TSUKEMEN is like because it's noodles, right? Noodles are main player in that dish. So, but like dipping noodle. So like we wanna make TSUKEMEN noodles like very unique and then like very kind of strong noodle texture, right? So that's what we want to do today, right? We just wanted to like kind of like help you understand what TSUKEMENs are better, and then want to explain how you can make your own craft TSUKEMEN noodles that sell very well. So what I'm gonna do today is that like I'm gonna go through some of the slides I created for you guys to be able to understand what TSUKEMENs are better, right? And then we'll go through like some ingredients, some recipes, right? After that, like with the basic understanding, we're gonna make the TSUKEMEN noodles that sell from scratch on our Richmen Gold one machine, right? So okay, so let's dive in into some slides that I made for you guys first, and then start making the our version of TSUKEMEN noodles that that's proven to sell. So, well, for those of you who don't know what TSUKEMENs are, because this is exactly what it looks like, right? So like noodles, right? Noodles served in a separate plate, and then you get bowl, right? That contains this dipping soup, right? Dipping soup, and it's looks very good. The noodles are the main character in this dish, and then so like you wanna make noodles, really really good, right? But before we start talking about TSUKEMEN, like I just wanted to talk about kind of evolution of ramen, right? So ramen has been like around like just over 100 years. It's a very short history that we have of ramen. Like ramen came from China, and then it got reinvented in Japan, kind of getting fused with the noodle cultures we already had right before in Japan, right? Then kind of we reinvented the ramen into our version, right? So standard ramen is just hot soup noodle, right? Hot soup noodles, like that's the image we have, like when we hear the word ramen, and then so it has like a lot of soup, 300 grams usually like per serving, the soup stock, right, and the tare, the seasoning, and then flavored oil. The volume of soup is pretty big, right? 300 grams, and then soup density, is it varies from low to high. Then about 70 years ago or so, like one ramen shop started serving dipping noodle ramen, TSUKEMEN ramen, inspired by zaru soba, like cold soba, right? Dipping noodle soba. So they started serving this, TSUKEMEN dish. Then got really, really popular. And then so like soup, right? Because TSUKEMEN soup is like the volume wise, like it's small, right? Like 150, like probably pretty much half of the standard ramen's, soup, right? And then but the soup density is like mid to high because we are having dipping this cooked noodles in the dipping soup, right? So we are basically eating dipped noodles, right? So we want to have like kind of very strong dipping soup, for this noodle to be um, tasted and tasting kind of in a balance, like in the mouth. So like we want to be strong, we want that dipping soup to be strong. So the soup density wise, like it's mid to high. And then about like 50 years ago, so this mazemen or like ramen, came to the scene. Again, like, was served at like some particular ramen shop, right? And then, so in this case, right, mazemen, we only have cooked noodles, right? And then we have some kind of sauce, like, mix up like with the noodles. So there's no soup at all in mazemen. So we call them soupless ramen. So soup volume, like, it's very low, like it's just a sauce, right? So, but the soup density wise, like it's very high. Like it's not even soup, but it's like seasoning and sauce, But so as we evolve, right, in the course of like ramen history, so we are having like less and less soup, right? So, but tsukemen, that today's topic is like kind of in the middle. But tsukemen is still very very popular. Like um, any famous ramen shop you go, like you see tsukemen like in dipping noodle in the menu, and then it's been evolving still like in ramen industry. So for those of you who don't know what tsukemen are, right? Tsukemen dishes, right? Dishes are. I just want to go over like kind of what sauce part, like dipping soup part, right? So noodle, weight, the noodle that's one serving noodle is big, right? Because kind of to compensate for like a less soup. Well, typically like 150 to 200 grams, like in fresh noodle weight. So it's a lot of noodles we're talking about. And then dipping soup, right? So you have base stock, 150 grams, and then tare 50 grams, then like flavored oil for aroma 50 grams about. So usually we're talking about like when we're talking about ramen soup, right? Ramen soup like hot soup noodle. Base stock we have like 300 grams like made of animal or seafood like vegetable ingredients, right? And that's a base stock. And then we have base tare, the base sauce like tare, 3 to 5% of the 15% of the base stock, right? That's made of like miso, soy sauce, salt seasoning. And then we have a flavored oil. So that's oil like an aroma that we add to the soup. So these three components, right? And then kind of ratios are kind of fixed. They vary, but like we kind of can tell, like you can't go over over 15% of the base stock for the tare and stuff like that. But tsukemen dipping noodles, right? So we have base stock, right? Dashi, it's a foundation of soup, right? Dipping soup. So we first like heat it to the boil, and then we add it to the bowl, where like tare and flavored oil are. So 50 grams each, right? So that's how we make that dipping soup, So there you have it. Like that's the kind of basic of tsukemen dipping soup, right? So let's get into the main topic of the today's workshop. So I've been using this like the chart, right, that describes different types of noodles, in terms of hydration, protein content of flour to make these noodles, and the noodle sizes. We've been using that like a lot because it's very useful to describe like different types of noodles. And then we can plot tsukemen like in the right, like lower right corner, right around there. And then this is high in hydration and then low in protein content flour we use. And then noodle size is bigger, right, thicker, because that's soft noodle. So we want to make the noodles to be bigger. So that's like noodle texture is pretty good. Then when we are making noodle recipes for tsukemen, right? We want to think about like these 5 variables, right? These are very useful, helpful tools that we can use when making our noodle recipes. So first of all, like protein content of wheat flour, higher the harder, right? And then for tsukeme, like we want to go lower than the middle, and then starch, right? Starch of the wheat, it's amylose and amylopectin ratio. So this visual represents the chewiness or viscosity, right? Elasticity of the noodles. This get higher the better, right? So, but you can't really see it on the product label, so you wanna measure it, right? You want to measure, and then we actually have this device that can measure this value. So if you have a flour you want to test it for your tsukeme noodles, please send as a sample. We can test it for you free of charge. Hydration, so how much water you add into the flour, right? Tsukeme like higher, right? Higher end. We're talking about like 35% and above, right? Probably up to like 45% in case like you're making tsukeme noodles on Richmen Gold one. So softer, right? The noodle size, we talked about it, like it should be bigger. And then if you're going like probably smallest size, maybe like 1.7 millimeter, like 1.8 millimeter or so, and then bigger, right? And then last one is like very important too, right? Because yeah, when you go to like tsukeme shop, when you order tsukeme, like they probably ask you, whether you want it to be served like cold or warm, right? I'm gonna talk more about it later, but like this is important, because if the noodle is served cold, right, and then the noodle texture is hard, but when noodles are served warm, then noodle texture is soft, right? So you want to take it into account when you're determining the protein content, hydration, the noodle size, right? So these 5 variables are very useful when making your own tsukeme noodle recipes. So so these are ingredients like a recipe, basically a recipes for one type of tsukeme noodles. So solid ingredients and liquid ingredients, right? So we always think about noodle recipe in terms of solid and liquid ingredients. We want to separate them, right? And then in our case, right, like for example, 5 kilograms total for the solid ingredients. And then for tsukeme noodles, it's always a good idea to, if these if these flours are available in your country, right, in your region, it's always a good idea to like blend them, right? Blend, in this case, like udon flour, protein content 8% and viscosity of like 1200 BU, right? It's high, pretty high viscosity. Then ramen flour, protein content of 12%. It's hard, viscosity is 750 BU. So a little, yeah, more viscous, like chewy, but not as chewy as like real flour, right? So if we blend them at like 60% to 40% ratio, right, then we have like some unique noodle texture or tsukeme noodles. And then liquid, right, we usually have like kanshi, salt, right, 1% each, so like 50 grams each, right, to the weight of flour, 50 grams each. And then we adding like hydration ratio of 40%, but 2% of it is kanshi and salt, right? So the rest of it is like water, right? Water. So that's like 1.9 kilograms of water, right? So that's how we sort of construct our recipes. Higher water we put in, right, the softer, and then if you do the resting process, like chewier your tsukeme noodles are going to be. So you can kind of like play around with this like ratio of udon flour and ramen flour and then hydration to determine your final noodle texture for tsukeme noodles. So also it was about ingredients, right? But like we're talking about production processes. So this is the processes that we do for to make a dough, right? To make a dough for tsukeme noodles. And then the most important process in this production processes is that weighing, measuring ingredients, right? Measuring ingredients is very important, with precision, the right ratio. So we always weigh, we always go by weight, right? When measuring ingredients, flour, water, we go by weight, kanshi and salt and everything by weight. why? Because it's more precise. More precise than going by like volume. Kind of more vague kind of yeah way of measuring things. So it's because if you screw this up, right, screw like up measuring and then get the wrong measurement or like wrong ratio, and then the rest of the process like wouldn't matter, right? Because you want to be making the same thing over and over, right? The same high quality of TSUKEMEN noodles over and over, so that customers trust you. Customers come and then like oh, this is not the same chicken noodles I had like last week, and then well, they lose the trust in you, right? For your ability to be able to make consistent quality chicken noodles, right? So you want to be, because so that leads to consistency, high quality, right? That leads to customer loyalty, right? So and then that's going to build up your brand, right? Brand of chicken noodles. So you want to be consistent, so you want to follow the method we call digital cooking method, right? Yeah, so the mixing process, right? Resting process, rough forming, then combining process, resting, second resting process. So these are the process like what we talk about like a lot, like in the other workshop. So if you're interested in like getting to know more about these processes, please check out the other workshop we did previously. So rough forming, yeah, I'll explain later, like when we actually make noodles, right, on the Richmen Gold one machine. But basically, making a sheet of dough, right, and then combine them through the rollers. So resting process, right, is very important, in developing the great noodle texture for our TSUKEMEN noodles, right? Then this is the picture of us doing, second resting process on the TSUKEMEN noodles, right? But there are four benefits of, that we can get out of a resting process, and then those are promote hydration, right? And then we can degas the dough because there are a lot of air pockets in the dough, and then they're gonna burst right when we cook them, right? Cook noodles, and that's gonna ruin the noodle texture, right? So we degas dough, then better we flavor, right? And it relaxes internal stress of the dough. So these are very good benefits we get out of resting. And then so after resting process, right, second resting process, all we do is like thinning, cutting and portioning, and then resting for the third time, and cooking and boiling. Cooking and boiling, which is like very important process for especially for TSUKEMEN noodles. So I'm gonna talk more about it later. But we're cutting the dough sheet into noodle strands, right? So we control the thickness by the roller, right? Roller gap, and then we control the width by cutter size. The kind of cutter we use, this kind of cutter, and then so for TSUKEMEN measurement, the flat noodles, so we could use for example like number 16, right? Like 1.9 millimeter or something like that for TSUKEMEN noodles as well. That's probably the smallest end of noodle size for the TSUKEMEN noodles, but we can still use it, but then it gets thicker, right? And then so noodle size is very important, right? For noodle texture for TSUKEMEN noodles, and then so again like noodle size like depends on the hardness, right? Hardness, like the harder the noodle texture, the smaller the noodle size we want to go because of the balanced like noodle texture. They're hard, and then if the noodle is hard and then like it's thick, right? It's big, noodle size is big, and then it's just hard to eat, right? So it's not good noodle texture. So when thinking about the noodle texture, then you wanna remember this picture, right? So noodle hardness has to do with protein content, higher protein content flour, and then lower hydration, right? But for TSUKEMEN noodles, they should be soft, right? So want to think about, okay, want to have lower protein content flour and then higher hydration, right? This is a very good picture to remember. And then shapes, right? Shapes for tsukemen noodles. You most of the time like square, most of the time square shape, but these are basically brown, edgy, deep groove, and then but sometimes the edgy cutter would be good, great too, because that gives you like kind of very sharp cut surface, and then clean noodle texture for tsukemen noodles. If the tsukemen noodle you're making like is pretty big, thick, right? Um, but normally like rectangular shape or flat shape, right? And then yeah, it could go round or edgy as well. So this picture, right? I took from like one of the ramen shop like I went to. It was like kind of looks like noodles are kind of looks like noodles probably 2 millimeter or so, right? And then probably round or like square probably. But these are kind of typical tsukemen dish that you come across, right? So serving tsukemen noodles is like another thing that you want to remember from this workshop, because this is very important. It could make or kill your tsukemen noodles, right? So and then cooking is very important, right? Cooking is very important. And then what kind of water we use, right, is salt water, right? Soft water is very important. So soft water means like there's no mineral, like it's mineral free water, right? Mineral means like magnesium, like calcium, right? So hard water is filled with these minerals, then the cooking process of the noodle will be like when we're cooking noodles, right, and then like temperature goes up, and then the constant salt that we put into noodles, right, so they need to be released to cooking water, and in exchange the noodle gets the cooking water, right? So that's how chicken noodles get cooked, right? Any kind of noodle get cooked, right? So that's why. And then if we have like a lot of minerals in water, then these guys like kind of take time to get out, right? Get out to the cooking water. So taking cooking, if you have to like cook the noodles for a long time, then that's not good for the noodle texture. At the same time, like you're spending extra money on the gas, to cook noodles and stuff too. So there's nothing good about it. So if you have to work with the hard water, then consider using this water softener, which is not gonna be big investment. Um, then cooking noodle, right? So kind of what cooker we want to use is like kind of that, well, we want to have overflow drainage, in addition to the main drainage, right? And then we want to have the tap that runs hot water, because when we cook tsukemen noodles, over time the water gets dirty, and then it loses the ability, its ability to like cook noodles efficiently, right? So we want to kind of maintain the water really clean, right? Over time, like while we cook the tsukemen noodles, right? So we want to have the overflow drainage. At the same time, we want to run hot water into it, like little by little, to kind of keep the cooking temperature high, right? And then so kind of faucet that runs the soft water, yeah, soft water, right? Soft water and ideally hot water, right? To keep cooking the water as clean as possible during the busy hours, right? And then we want to have like ditches, around the cooker to allow overflowing the cooking water, right? Which helps replenish the cooking water. And then we want to have a high-powered heating system that backs up the cooking temperature as quickly as possible, right? Because when we put the tsukemen noodles, right, the temperature drops, right? Temperature drops, right, all of a sudden, and then, but we want to get it back up as quickly as possible to 98 degrees and above, right? So then we can cook the because especially chicken noodles are thick, right? So it takes time to cook. But if you have like kind of um, you don't have the cooker that doesn't have without like more high strong like heating system, then well, we're not going to be able to like, cook chicken noodles as efficiently as we want, right? So This is important. And then so um again, like Tsukimi noodles is like very, that I think that's the most important part of Tsukimi noodles is like, noodle texture, because we are literally eating noodles, right? Yeah, standard hot soup noodle ramen. We are eating noodles too, but like, we're kind of also like kind of tasting the soup and everything, right? But like Tsukimi noodles, like, it's more about noodles, right? So we want to get the, beautiful, unique texture to amaze our customers, right? So for that to happen, like we want to, have this kind of memorized, right? Cross-sectional ratio, the noodles is very important too, like thickness times width, right? So 1 to 1.6 ratio gives us, like when we cook noodles, right? After they cook, they become like this kind of shape, right? With the four size dented inwards. And then so these dents, help carry the dipping soup, you know. So it helps like skimming noodles taste better, definitely. And then when we are serving skimming noodles, right? Make sure we wash the noodles before serving them to customers, because when you cook the noodles, right, there's some starch coming out, right, for the noodles, and then so gelatinized starch like are coating the noodles, and then we want to wash them off before serving them to customers, because they're kind of slimy texture that a lot of people don't like, right? So when serving chicken noodle, we typically like we have this kind of system, right? The cooking system. So we have noodle cooker, a kind of noodle cooker we talked about, right? And then we have double sink, right? And the first sink, what we're doing is that, like, we are washing off the starch, right? The noodle. And then, so the second one, like, we're chilling the noodles, right? We're chilling noodles. So, we're washing them off, right? And then, for cold noodles as well, and the warm noodle as well. So then chilling, and then, warming the noodles, well, before we serve them, right, to the customer. So when you go to TSUKEMEN, well, when you go ramen shop, like in order TSUKEMEN noodles, like, or when you go to like TSUKEMEN specialty shop, right, they ask you an option of like having, either like cold TSUKEMEN or warm TSUKEMEN, right? So yeah, so that's why, the reason for that is, well, if you order, cold TSUKEMEN, right, and then um, the temperature of the tsukemen noodles is like 20 degrees Celsius. It's kind of cold, right? Of course, like, they chill them, right, to 20 degrees Celsius, because the noodles are tighter, like harder, better texture. And then when you dip them into the soup, right, which is 80 degrees temperature, right? Of course, the amount of amount of temperature that it loses by, getting these cold noodles dipped into, right, the soup, which is like, way bigger than the, if they're, you know, warm noodles like, 52 Celsius, right, is way bigger, right? So, so over time, like it's we lose the temperature of dipping soup, like, which affects the taste, right, and the eating experience of the tsukemen. So but that's a choice that, customer makes. But like, for you to understand what's happening here, right? And you can explain to the customer, then the customer can choose, right? So toppings, right? There are many of them. Like, we can choose for toppings for the tsukemen noodles, right? And then it's very easy to customize tsukemen, right? The noodle size, the chashu, like noodle type, right? Yuzu needed, or like, regular type, or toppings, different types of toppings, right? And noodle temperature, hot, like starch moved, like cold, like ice chilled. Then, noodle size, right? I mean, you can go like, it's a 200 grams, like small. That's a lot of noodles, right? But large, like 600, like extreme large, like I don't know if like there's a tsukemen shop that serves that size, like 1.5 kilograms, like and then I don't know if like anyone who's capable of eating that in one sitting, um, but noodles. like the cost of making noodles like is not as big as like making soup, right? So you can make some, probably make like up to medium, large, like free of charge or something like that to give your customer more value, right? To get more customers. But it's easy to customize your TSUKEMEN noodles and then give your customers a lot of options, right? And then last thing I want to say right before we start making noodles is that like Yamato Noodle School, right, online, we have online school like online school dot yamatonoodle.com. So we have a lot of courses available for you to take, right? And then in these courses we're teaching definitely how to make great TSUKEMEN noodles, right? TSUKEMEN soup, right, and toppings, right? That help you sell way more than you're selling now. So please go to our website online school noodle.com, right, today to check out like what we have, right? And of course we have like free resources as well, like for you to like kind of start learning about TSUKEMEN noodles, right? So yeah, please go to online school.yamatonoodle.com today to check what we have over there. So all right, so let's go make some TSUKEMEN noodles. So we have ingredients over here. Then so this is the flour that we talked about, right? Flour we talked about, like it's not just one type of flour, but like two types of flour we mix, right? So 50% udon flour, 50% ramen flour, right? And then for those people who are kind of trying out like different TSUKEMEN noodles, right? I mean, the very good advice is that like you wanna go first, right? Because you don't know, you've never tried them before, right? You wanna go like 50%, 50%, 1-to-1 ratio first, right? And then you try them and then see if like okay, is it like too hard, like not as chewy or something, and then you can increase the either of the flour by 10% to see what happens, right? Or if it's not too hard, I mean it's too soft, right, for you, and then so you can increase the ramen flour by 10%, 60%, and then 40% udon flour, right? So that's how you can try out like new flours you've never tried before, and then see what happens. So this is a Richmen Gold one machine, right? And then so I'm adding this 4 kilograms. So this is a 10 kilogram mixer, so that means that you can mix up to 10 kilograms of flour, right? So ingredients, and then so see that this lid, right? So these holes allow water to drip through, right? And then yeah, little by little, so that yeah sorry. So just start mixer. Then just 1 minute, just with the flour, right? So over here, I'm just that's kansi. I just threw it in. Then this salt, right? So you want to mix it very well. Like you make sure like everything is like dissolved, right? Then we have we basically have a solution, right? Water, kansi, and salt. And then as I kind of talked about in the slide, so this is 40%, right? So 40% means like that's 4 kilograms, right? So that's a total weight is 1.6 kilograms of liquid, and then 1% each of currency and salt, right? So that's 40 grams each, right? 40 grams each, and then 40 grams each. So that's 80 grams, right? It's 80 grams each. So yeah, yeah, 80 grams each. So subtract 80 grams from like 1,600 grams of liquid, and then you get like 1,520 grams, right, of water. So I want to put like maybe half to like a two-third of it first, right? And you see, so now like this water is like dripping through the holes, right? Small holes, little by little, to render good hydration for the dough, right? Good hydration flour, and then but it's great to watch like this silky mixer working, right? But it's a waste of time, I think, like for you guys to like just keep watching the this mixer. It's a beautiful mixer, but like just waste of time, right? For the total mix time is 10 minutes. So I hate wasting your time, like you know 10 minutes of like just watching this mixer. It's just kind of yeah, could be boring. All right, so I I prepared the dough before, and then this is 40%, right? See, so 40% is kind of high hydration for ramen machine, even for this like Richmen Gold one machine, right? But but with this Richmen Gold one machine, like in conventional machine, like this, see, this is big, right? This is big, dough is big, so conventional machine, like it's gonna be like this, right? So it's kind of it's stuck, it gets stuck, right? It gets stuck right here, hard to get it in, right? So it's in conventional machine, like you have to have this gate, safety gates called. So that's why like your hand like doesn't go in, right? But um so we kind of figure out like, okay, so if you can open this gate, right, wide open, so like any kind of big dough can go in, right, smoothly, right? But it's dangerous, right? Because your hand can be part of the dough, and then that's a serious injury you get, right? So kind of thought about it, and then you know created this sensor, right? That there's a invisible sensor running, right? See, I my hand like went in there, right? Went through, so that it stopped, right? Stopped. So it's the one of the probably the most sophisticated safety feature that commercial noodle machine has. And then so I just wounded the dough, right, into the pin, and then the rest of the process is automatic, right? So because see the red light, right, is looking at how much dough is going in, right? So this machine knows, okay, it's too much dough at the time, so like let's stop the conveyor, right? And then if there's enough dough, then like okay, it moves the conveyor faster. So you don't have to worry about, okay, how much dough is going in, like is that too much at the time or something like that. So this is very good system that we have over here. So that's why you know um, you can put anyone, right, regardless of experience, like regardless like whether if it's skill or not. Yeah, that person can make very good tsukemen noodles, right? Okay. So this is the rough. This process is called like rough forming, and then but still, so we just made like sheet of dough, right? But they're still fragile, right? So what we want to do is to you know make it strong, right? So how we do that, right? How do we make this dough stronger, right? Is to you know, combine them. Like we first like separate them, right? We separate it into two sheet. We separated two sheet, right? And then combine them, right? Combine them through a roller. So now, so now I close this gate, right? I close the gate. I close the gate, right? And then so because the door is like going passing through this sensor, right? So by closing the gate, I deactivated this sensor, right? So that the door can go through. Shoot. Yeah, so this is a very good system. Like, when we are doing the wrap forming, then door can be pretty big, and then get stuck in the safety gate. So we can open, then the sensor gets can get is activated, right? So get activated. So the door is you don't have to do anything, but like the door is like kind of going smoothly into the rollers. Well, in conventional machine, like you have to have it closed, for the safety, right? So it's very cumbersome. Yeah, it's very cumbersome to walk it like that. So and then combining process is usually done twice to make sure that we have great noodle texture for our tsukemen noodles. We do it usually twice, right? Yes. So so um, just in the roller gap a little bit. Then from this point on, we want to turn on the um, duster because to prevent it from sticking. Yeah. So yeah, second time combining, then you know, well, normally we want to do the second resting process, right? But for the sake of this workshop, right? And then again, I hate to waste your time, right? So, you know, um, I'll just skip that for now. But yeah, it's good to have a second resting process after this. So we have dust. This dough is dusted well, so you don't have to worry about it getting stuck, right? Then so after this, right? So what I do is to just thin it, right? Just thin it, but we don't want to thin it like all at once. That's gonna damage the gluten that we worked so hard to develop, right? So But the good news is that, we can go faster from here, right? We can go faster from here. Okay, so okay, so I think yeah, let me check the actual thickness, because the actual thickness is always bigger than the royal gap we set, right? So 3.3 in thickness, so there's 0.8 difference, 0.8 millimeter difference, right? So so what's great about this machine is that, like, you can actually check the cutter size, right? Appropriate thickness. So this is, I'm gonna cut with like number 12, like, which is the most popular cutter for yeah, 2.5, right? Okay, so 2.5, like, so you don't have to remember, you know, then 3.5. So 2.5, like, it should be like 2.2, right? The thickness. So okay, let me thin it again, right? Let me thin it again, because we don't want, well, I'm just afraid that, like, by going like too thin, right? Too thin, right? Then we're gonna ruin the gluten, structure, like in noodle dough, good texture for your TSUKEMEN noodles, right? But you could go, yeah, you could go cut, but I just wanted to make sure that by going another round of thinning, right? So yeah, we can go into cutting. You go to cutting with it. And make sure, like, you want to always check the roll gap. I mean the thickness. 2.6. So I think the final thickness should be 2.2. 2.2, like, it's going through, so like 0.5 millimeter difference, or 0.5 millimeter difference. So we can expect that noodle to bounce back by 0.5, right? So to get to 2.2, we want to set this to 5, or so, like 2.2, right? Plus 0.5 and 2.2. So yeah, should be fine. So what is this square number 12 cutter, which is the most popular cutter for TSUKEMEN noodles? Okay. So yeah, we only have like some chicken noodles made here, right? So I'm just setting, right? Setting the dough. Then so I'm going to cut. All right, so it's a roller. It was a roller and it's cutter, right? So we switch it to cutter, and then yeah, this switch, right? Foot switch is a great tool because I can slow it down right? I can slow it down while I'm stepping on it, right? And then, insert it to the cutter. So it's coming out. So I just want to show you guys the thickness, the final thickness. It's kind of, this is the thickness, right? It's going to rough surface. It's a little bit off, but like 2.2, right? 2.2. So yeah, so that's how you adjust that final thickness. And then this is the length, right? Normal length, right? So you can make it longer for bigger serving size. You can make it for bigger serving size pretty easily, and then yeah, it's very easy to do that. Then here we have this tension, see, strong, normal, weak, and then because this is the kind of soft noodles, right? Let's make it weak, right? This is a longer. Oops. Okay. It's too much. Oh, okay. 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 It's a little bit too long. Could be too long. Okay, so yeah, so we made some TSUKEMEN noodles in the morning, and then we have some TSUKEMEN noodles over here too. But because TSUKEMEN noodles like thick, right? It's very thick, so kind of if you make like number 20 kata or something, kata number 20 kata or something, like it's thinner, right? Way thinner. And then hydration wise, like hydration is 40%, right? So if yeah, if you make it like kind of long, right? I'm not sure like how many centimeters this is, but like the same length, give you like smaller weight, right? So but like when you make it 2 minutes, like you are basically making it shorter than the regular kind of medium size, like thin size thinner noodles, right? Or like lower hydration noodles, right? Because this skimming noodles, one strand is way heavier than those noodles, right? So but if you want to make it skimming noodles like long, then after you take one serving, like you may want to separate them, right? Two or something, or three, right? And after you make them, right, you make sure you cover them, right? You cover them. Otherwise noodles like get dry like pretty fast, right? So you want to cover them, right? And then you want to put in the fridge, for storage. And then well, the temperature wise, that's 5 degrees Celsius, and up to like 10 degrees Celsius is the appropriate storage temperature, right? So that's number 12, 2.2 millimeter in thickness, 2.5 millimeter in width, right? But this is a kind of medium size for tsukemen noodle. And then, smaller size would be like 2.0, like width, 1 point, maybe 1.8 or something, right? But you can go like, 5 millimeter, almost like udon noodles, right? Sanuki udon noodles. But like, of course, like thicker the noodles, right? Thicker noodles, like that, longer the cooking time. So, I think you can be very unique in serving like these kind of thick noodles, right? Thick TSUKEMEN noodles. But, think about, how much gas how much more gas you're spending in cooking and stuff, and then, labor. Because the customer has to wait, because these kind of noodles I probably cooks in like maybe 6 minutes to 7 minutes, right? But if you're cooking like 5 millimeter tsukemen noodles, right, that's going to take maybe 10 minutes, not 8 minutes, 9 minutes, 10 minutes. So that makes a big difference, like in operational costs and everything, right? And the customer has to wait for that long, to serve. So yeah, please think about, so that kind of thing also, like, you want to put in consideration, right, when making a tsukemen noodles, right, that sell. So yeah, so we teach not only like how to make noodles, right, and also like, but also like how to make the dipping soup, right, and then toppings as well. In fact, like this week we are doing ramen school in Tokyo, right? Our Shinagawa, showroom. So yeah, so we teach everything, right, from scratch, right? So, and then, but for those of you like who can't make it to Japan, right? We have an online course for you, online course, e-learning course, that's available for you to like start taking now. Actually, if you go to online school.yamatonoodle.com, right, we have a lot of courses available, including some free resources too. So if you haven't been there, please check it out today, right? Online school.yamatonoodle.com. So yeah, so we are having next week, like we're doing something else, right? But we usually do this like online workshop like on Wednesday and Friday, 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Japan standard time, right? So yeah, please check out our website yamatonoodle.com for these pages to show up. I think in a day or two, right? So we're gonna have a links, right, for you guys to like start watching live. So please do that. So that's it for what we had for this class or workshop. Then, but if you haven't already, right, please subscribe to the channel. And if you haven't, if you like this kind of content, like please hit the like button, right, so that you won't miss any of the content, like we're putting out from now on too. So. All right, so that's it. So that was what we have for tsukemen noodles that sell, and then I hope you enjoyed it, and then I hope to see you guys back in the next workshop. So thanks so much. Bye bye.